Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And a very good afternoon to you this Friday afternoon. You're welcome along to Friday Night Racing. It's Jerry Gilroy and Johnny Ward with you every Friday afternoon right across the year, bringing you the best and biggest stories from the world of horse racing. Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. You can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing for details, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Johnny, how are you?
I'm good, Ger. How are you keeping?
Yeah, very good. And I want to say hello to our guest this week is Peter Fahey. Peter, how are you? How's it going?
Good, Ger. Thank you. How are you doing, Johnny?
You are Peter. On some incredible run at the moment. Everything you touch is turning to gold, Peter. What's that like?
It's unbelievable, I suppose, from Cheltenham on. It's unbelievable. Like, we went to Cheltenham thinking if we could run a good race and to come out and win, and then from to back it up in Aintree, look, it's a fairy tale stuff for us now, to be honest.
And obviously you had a front row seat for both of those big races, right?
Well, at home, I suppose, yeah.
What happened? You weren't actually on the track for either of them?
No, I wasn't. I was over in Cheltenham first for Raika Halla. We thought she'd nearly win, I suppose. She started favourite for the mare's race, and then I was always kind of coming home. We didn't think Belfast Banter would get into the county hurdle, but when he got into it, I suppose after the filly running bad and that, I said I'd go home and I'd watch it with Bear and the kids and that. So I kicked on home, and sure, we done plenty of celebrating here at home anyway, you know.
Was that kind of a reverse jinx? You just like, I'm going to break the pattern of what's been going wrong here this week. It's obviously me being there is somehow forcing bad results, or was it just you didn't genuinely didn't actually think the horse was going to get in the race?
I suppose I was still in Cheltenham, I suppose, when he got in, but I kind of had in my mind that I was coming home, you know, and I actually was never there when I've never seen him win yet, to be honest. I wasn't Galway the day he won either, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about his history before we get to the Aintree one. The penny has dropped was what his jockey said over the course of the last month, particularly I think at Cheltenham. I think it was the Cheltenham race that he was talking about, where he just put his head down and galloped towards the line and fought off, which is not actually the usual behaviour of Belfast Banter. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's very fair. Look, I can't say Cheltenham. Well, all year long, I suppose we were thinking that he wants a fast run, handicap, big race. You know what I mean? A field that they go very fast up front. And his best run, I suppose, would have been before then. Would have been in Naas. He was second in the Grade 2 to a Horse of Willie's, where they went very quick up front, and he was staying on second. He ran a good race that day, and we ran him in that, I suppose, to try to get up a couple of pounds to get into the county hurdle. And in fairness, every other race that he was running all year long summer, and even average maiden hurdles, he was struggling and probably not finishing out his races. But I suppose Cheltenham, we were going over there, we're riding him to be placed at best if it worked out for us, you know, and for him to come out and win. It's unbelievable. And he put down his head and he galloped, as you said, to the line, which was so unlike him, you know. But it was a plan, I suppose, all year round, that a fast run race where he'll settle better early on and finish out his races. So that's what kind of worked out, you know.
And what do you do with a horse like that you think has some talent but that won't finish out its races?
Yeah, I can't say that he's holding anything back. I think he just gives everything. Like, all year long in winter on soft ground, they're going that stride's too slow for him, and he's pulling and he's using energy because he's eager to get going. I can't say that he doesn't put it in or doesn't try in his races. I suppose you'd more so say that he gives everything, but when you usually most horses you go dipping for a little bit more, they'll find a bit more. He has nothing left. He gives everything on the bridle. Okay. And that's probably gives you the impression that he's not finishing, you know.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do in training to change that. That's just the character of the horse. They are the traits that you just need then to manage the races that you get into. Is that kind of how you deal with something like that?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, it's going over to England. They seem to go very fast early on, whereas in Ireland you're kind of building up to the last couple of furlongs of the race. It's your fastest. Over in England, they go a very, very strong pace early on, and the last couple of furlongs would be the slowest. So it gives our horse a chance to settle, because they're going that stride quicker early on. So he'll settle and breathe better and relax. And then initially, he doesn't have to quicken to get into the race because they're coming back to him. So it's easier for Kevin to be holding on to him, to give him more confidence through the race, you know.
Where do you stand on horses like that, Peter, in general? Because, you know, when you think of the likes of Archibald and all these horses that get a reputation, he had run 14 hurdle races going into Cheltenham, and he'd won one of them. And I remember I'd done a couple of his races for the Racing Post, and I actually did tip him the day he with Galway, but it was with real reluctance, because I was sort of the mind that he probably when you look at his bumper, he won on Good to Firm, I think, in England, and he was probably just a pacey horse. But do you think generally horses, by and large, are genuine, and if they don't find something for pressure, it's either to do with the kind of the ground or something to do with more of a physical thing than actually a thing in their head?
Yeah, I suppose like every trainer has what the horses you call is kind of bridle horses. That'd be the description you'd have of them. Like when to find very little off the bridle. You'd have some horses like definitely some horses that wouldn't finish out. You'd say to have issues with wind issues or some physical issues. Like with him initially when we got him, we thought he had a wind problem. Because he wasn't finishing out. We done what you say is a galloping scope. So you put a camera down his nose, like basically he's galloping, and it just sees what way he's breathing, and that worked out. He was perfect. And then even halfway through the season, before I think it was September time again or October time, we said here there has to be something wrong with his wind, and we done the same thing again, put a scope back on him, and he was fine. So like it just shows like he's just one of them horses that he actually gives everything without even asking him, So you have other horses that race lazily, like I suppose from a public looking at a horse that's racing lazy, when the jockey's working on him, he's finding more. You give the horse a lot more credit. You say, gee, he's very tough and he finishes out, he's racing strong. Or that's just the complete opposite. He gives everything without asking,
And people probably underestimate as well, like when you're going from those soft ground races where they're going steady in Ireland to a completely different speed test of Cheltenham and Aintree, that it's almost like hurling and football, really.
It is definitely, because as they're going that bit quicker, the horses that are running away all year on soft ground, that stride quicker, they're out of their comfort zone. Whereas our horse, the stride quicker, it's actually better for him because he has a lot of pace and he's more relaxed doing it. Where instead of on soft ground, you're going that stride too slow for him, and you're breaking his stride because he jumps so quick. And I'd say then, like, look at when you head over to the better races, they're just. You can see a swing around in some results, like horses with a lot more pace will run a bit better. He must
be like, or even the last sort of month or so must be a great example for you of trying to explain just how utterly bonkers racing is in general, because you go over thinking Royal Kahala as kind of your likely winner. She sort of disappoints. You then have a big fancy in the Irish Grand National who you pull out basically on the day. You've probably been training for the race because the ground is too quick. You send over a horse who essentially can't win, and probably won't get into the race to the county hurdle. He wins and wins well after getting in, and then he runs in a grade 1 at Aintree, running against a very highly rated horse called Dusart, obviously, and ends up looking like a grade 1 horse. Now, how does anyone make sense of that?
I definitely look at it. It took me a while to make sense of it myself, but I'm actually from to win an Aintree, I was thrilled because it backed up. Like, it's easy to say, oh, he won a handicap and it was a bit of a fluke or whatever, but like to back up and come up and win a grade 1 was unbelievable. But look at it. I suppose like our whole thing with Aintree, like from Cheltenham to Aintree, we were just thinking of a Galway hurdle. There's no point in messing about it. Like, we're just myself and Fergal went through it. He was 133 in Ireland, and it would guarantee us 2 out of the last 5, I think, to get in. So we brought him to Aintree instead of chancing him in another handicap, say the Scottish Champion Hurdle, which is a handicap. If you finish 5th or 6th on it, and he got £2 off him for it, we'd no chance of getting into a Galway hurdle. So we said we'd grade 1. If it happened that he was placed and ran a good race, we'll get a few pound to get us into a Galway hurdle. And if we finish 6th or 7th, count of being a grade 1, it wouldn't adjust our handicap mark. So we're just kind of playing it safe there. But like the closer it got to the race in Aintree, actually the more confident I was getting, to be honest.
Let me go to the Galway hurdle, or?
It's definitely the plan, yeah. Definitely the plan. Like, I know he got initially, I think he got £9 and he ended up getting a 2 extra the next day, but no, he'll still be over the last couple of years, he'll still be in the Galway hurdle under 11 stone,
Let me play everybody the commentary of the race at Aintree, because we can talk about loads of different stuff and what you plan for, like how you begin to dream about what comes next. So here it is. This is the top novices hurdle at Aintree. Have a listen.
On the near side, Do Your Job still battling on, and now third time lucky being produced, but not helped by a mistake at the final flight. Belfast Banter, he's shaken up by Kevin Sexton. Here's Do Your Job putting in a big run down the outside. Dusart is rallying. Belfast Banter by a length to Do Your Job as they race up towards the line. It's going to be another Irish win. Belfast Banter follows up his Cheltenham success.
So the difference between winning a handicap and a grade 1, just for some of our listeners who don't quite know the nuances of that, what does that mean then in terms of what races you'll enter him in next year?
For the races, well, look at obviously a handicap. Basically, that you have a handicapper that sets the weights, and you're allowed. Every horse has a rating, so the lower rating you get, if you're, for talk's sake, if you're a horse rated 120 and you have a horse rated 125, the horse rated 125 will carry £5 more than the horse rated 120, and it's just to kind of even the field up for ability wise, so that every horse ideally is meant to have a very good chance of winning. I like for to go on from that. So then basically we went to Cheltenham, and the horse that was favoured for Aintree, horse that was favoured, a joint favourite for Aintree. Yeah, no, what's the third time lucky, isn't it? Like he was joint favourite in Aintree. Yeah, we met him in Cheltenham, and we were carrying a stone less than him. And then we met him in Aintree off level weights. So like that's why our lad, I suppose, was the big price, and the other lad was the second favourite. But it's a huge change, because everything is equal in a graded race, bar if filly gets an allowance. That's all, you know.
But now that you've won one, does that open up a whole different sphere of ambition next season when you're sitting plotting your course?
It definitely makes things a lot harder, because he's not as lowly rated. But
no, it doesn't. It makes you have a grade 1 horse in your hands, and not only that, you could actually have a very good flat horse in your hands. So everything is opened up for you. You're complaining about winning a grade 1 at Aintree now. I'm
thrilled to win a grade 1. I ain't taking a grade 1 anywhere any day. But no, look, I suppose it opens up things in one sense. But like, you have no easy targets. You're out in novice company next year. You're in with the big ones. You're in, like, for say champion hurdle, you're talking about taking on Honeysuckle, you know, which is initially even rated a long way higher than we are. You know, we're only 144, 145, where you're talking Honeysuckle 170 something or 160 something. But like, we're meeting her on level weights from now on, so like we will struggle away. But no, look at our aim from here on for after Aintree is the Galway hurdle. Like, he'd be in it around 11 stone, so that's our next big aim. Whether he has a run on the flat or not before then, we'll see, you know.
And do you go hunting that fast pace and that faster ground?
You do. I suppose this time of the year it's going to be easier. He won't be too busy. He doesn't want it very quick, you know. It's just, he wants just nice ground, you know. So Galway, in fairness, to do a great job. They put plenty of water on. You very seldom get very quick ground in Galway, which would suit him. But you're talking about, you need a lot of luck and running, because you'd come through a field, and it's a short enough running, which could help him too. But look, he'll tip away as long as the ground is safe. I suppose he'll definitely have a run to flat.
How long have you had Belfast Banter? What's the crack? What's the provenance of the horse and you guys getting it?
Yeah, I got him, I can't think how long back now. I got him, he ran for Dan Skelton. He won a bumper for Dan Skelton. And funny enough, Fergal, he was over in England. Fergal bought him to sale. I think it could have been the May sales in Cheltenham for, I think it was 30 or 40 grand. He bought him. He sold one that day, and he ended up buying him. And he left him over in England with Dan Skelton to go and get a bit of form on after being placed in a Pint of Pint. He came from Mark O'Hare had him for Pint of Pint and Paddy Turley. So he came from their place, and after buying him in Cheltenham, he said he'd leave him in England and try to get a bit of form in him, get him sold he was hoping for someone in Dan Skelton's yard would buy him after he ran. So I think he was placed the first day. They fancied him well the first day. He was placed the first day, and then he won the next day. And I think at the end of the month, Fergal said to me, like, after him running twice and winning and being placed, it still didn't cover his monthly training fees. So he said, here, look at typical, yeah, I suppose, like, you know, that was it worked out great for me to get the horse, you know, but that's initially. Then he came back to me, and we done a bit with him and gave him a small break, and we went on then hurdling with him.
That's actually a good little anecdote there, because I know there was an article in the Racing Post about prize money kind of being a convenient thing to blame in terms of why British racing, like, not only in Cheltenham, but was absolutely annihilated in the Grand National. I mean, if this were happening in Ireland in terms of like raiders coming over and basically winning everything, and despite the fact we're much smaller racing nation obviously than Britain, but this is an example of a horse who couldn't actually cover his training fees after winning and being placed in Britain, and as a consequence of that, direct consequence of that, actually came back to Ireland.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like, and like, I suppose Dan didn't have confidence in the horse or what. He didn't have anyone to keep him in the yard either, do you know? But initially, then he came home to me then to go on. You know, look at. I suppose it's unbelievable now that he came to me. You know, look, we were thinking of selling him plenty of times at home here, but thank God it didn't work out.
What was actually watching the race like? I mean, I presume you were quite disappointed coming home from Cheltenham, a bit dispirited, like the excitement of having a favourite going over, that must be class, until actually things don't work out. And so that's quite a down. So what was the actual experience like of watching the race with the family at home?
It was brilliant, to be honest with you. Look, we've gone to Cheltenham, and no matter who has a runner, if you're a runner in Cheltenham and it's 100 to 1, you just get yourself wound up that you're thinking, this is the year I'm going. Like, look, at every trainer wants to have a winner in Cheltenham, and I was no different. Like, it was a dream to have it, to have runners, never mind winners. But no matter when you go over there, you're actually you get yourself so built up, and it's more like every time up until this year, it was a complete letdown. So the same this year, we were going over with a favourite, and here we were thinking, this is going to be our breakthrough year with Royal Kahala. It didn't work out, and you're totally deflated. Like, it's unbelievable how low you get. You actually just, your head would be low as anything. Hard to describe how low it'd be, because you're building yourself up so much. And you look at, we came home then, and with him, like, we're hoping he'd run a big race. That was basically it. If you could finish, like, even speaking to Fergal that morning, he said if we could finish in the first 5 or 6, it'd be a huge run, Like, even, and the closer we were getting to the race, the more confident we were getting as well, talking about it, even though I was at home. But to watch it at home, it was, I can't say to you, I couldn't really enjoy it, because I was watching from the back of the last hurdle. I was waiting for the Belfast Banter we knew that would get you excited in a race and not finish. So it was kind of more relief when he got past the line. I nearly had to rewind it and make sure it did happen, to be honest with you, But
I hope you give him a good pat afterwards and say, I half doubted you, but you've actually proved me wrong here.
Oh, definitely. Look, I'm walking by the stable every day up until the last while I'd be wondering when is he ever going to win, And now I can't go by the stable without giving him a pat altogether,
It's celebrating kind of on WhatsApp nearly as well, isn't it? Because you're at home and you're just getting all these congratulations, but you're not obviously meeting people in the flesh, and you're probably getting used to that now at this stage.
Yeah, and like, look at here. If it was the normal Cheltenham, I would not have come home. Do you know what I mean? Simple as, I wouldn't have come home. Like, it's quiet over there, to be honest with you. Like, in fairness, IHRB and the BHA, they've done a brilliant job over there. Everyone involved, like, you were in your hotel room. If you didn't have runners, you were back over to the track. Then if you had runners, then you go see them. But like, there was no mixing or no real celebrating. Like, I hear the Irish is a great community over there, and did plenty of shouting and clapping and well done's to everyone. But that was it. Like, I suppose then comes that evening, it's curtains closed and back into your rooms, and you get a bit of food to your room or whatever. So like, it wasn't the normal Cheltenham. It was the normal Cheltenham, and the owners were there. Look at it. I'd be probably still in Cheltenham celebrating, or the way to Cheltenham to Aintree, I'd say,
What was the crack with Royal Kahala? What actually happened?
She was lame after a race. It's funny, she was a little bit sore after her run in Fairyhouse. At this point with the run in Fairyhouse, she was a bit sore. We brought her to the vets and we thought we'd everything ironed out. But and over there, I couldn't have been any happier with her before the race. I was thrilled with her. Like, I was even saying to Kevin, like, to get plenty of cover in her, because she was very fresh and well. But after going a furlong, I knew she wasn't travelling. It wasn't like, I could make excuses and blame the ground and blame little things. Look, she was lame after a race. The BHA rang me to go down to the stable yard and have a look at her. Like, she was lame after the race, so we're after getting her checked over by the vets again, and she's actually back cantering away at the moment. So she'll canter till the end of this month to get another check by the vets, and she'll go off out and she'll come back in next year. She's one that you'd be really looking forward to next year, especially the way the fillies form worked out, over here. So I still think I've one of the nicest fillies in Ireland, novice fillies in Ireland, to be honest with you, just to get her back to what she was in her 2 runs ago.
Do you go chasing with her?
No, she won't go chasing next year. She's very, very inexperienced yet, even though, she's a big filly. But we'll keep her to hurdles next season and see how we go then. What
is the crack with a horse that fetches up lame after a race? Is that the big diagnosis, and then the small diagnosis will actually determine exactly what it was that caused the lameness?
Yeah, like, look, could you go back down after? It's very hard to judge them. I suppose you go back down when it's called down to the vet box in Cheltenham, it's actually on a hill, so you're looking at them trotting up and down. It's not ideal to see to pinpoint where you think it is, but when we got her back to the stable yard and she was cooled off, it was very easy to see where she was lame. So we got her back home. She came back home actually that night, and she went down to the vets on the Monday, and we found an issue with her, so she's been treated for that. And look at a nice summer's break will help her as well, recover, and hopefully it won't come back at her again, and she'll have a better season next year. As
Johnny said earlier on, the madness of understanding all this kind of stuff, like, they can't tell you that it's, look, my back left, if you have a look there you'll find exactly what it is, and it's not that bad, or it's really bad, you need to do this and this. Like, that's the bit where just spending time with them, I guess, pays off over a period.
Yeah, it does. Like, it's hard to know. Like, with her, like, she was showing us all the signs. She was perfect. Like, I I could not. If you asked me a half an hour, 10 minutes before the race, I was saying this one is better than I've ever had her. And she hadn't gone 100 yards in the race, and she wasn't right. And she actually still, even to look back at it, she actually finished out her race. You'd say, oh, look at it a bit further, because before I'd known that she was lame and sore afterwards, I was on the phone to Oran Crean, who kind of runs Winning Ways Syndicate, and I said to him, look, we just need softer ground and step her up and trip. But to look at her afterwards, like, she was sore, and she obviously blocked a lot of it out through the race, you know.
Take us back then to Aintree, right? When you know now that this is a horse that actually will finish out, and Belfast Banter is kind of coming through with about 2 furlongs left to go. At that stage, were you confident?
I was, yeah, definitely. Like, I was slagging Bear, my wife, before in Cheltenham when he was coming down the hill. She was telling Kevin before the race, I suppose, don't go too soon. And he hadn't seen the second last hurdle, which is nearly 5 furlongs from the end, and she was celebrating Cheltenham, and I was waiting for him to stop. But definitely in Aintree, when he jumped the second last, I was starting to let a shout on me anyway for that.
Burr rides him out every day, is that right?
Yeah, Burr, she rides him out every single day, and she actually got a fall then the Monday before Aintree, so she got a bad fall. She broke a few ribs and fractured a shoulder blade, so she couldn't ride him out for the few days coming up to Aintree, and she couldn't travel to Aintree then as well, which was probably a bit of the reason that we didn't go. We said she wasn't able, so she was too sore to travel over. But no, she rides him out every day. Does all the work with him. Yeah.
Right. They're the type of accidents that we never hear about. Obviously, you hear about the jockeys, but just riding out, falling off, it's like, oh, it's a tough out of life.
It is, and touchwood, like, she rides her own few horses every day. Like, she rides Belfast Banter, Peregrine Run, Born to Seahorse, Born Patriot, and a few others. Like, and she rides a good bit of work. But we brought down a horse over another yard. She hadn't rode it before, and I thought it was fine. And it just got a bit of a runner in the gallop, and it ducked, and she came off it, and she got a very bad fall. But I look at she's fine now, and sure, fingers crossed. I'm not too keen on going back riding out, but sure, she's gun ho to get back in saddle anyway. Definitely not listening to me, no.
That's the way it goes.
She's Andrew Lee's sister, is that right?
That's right, yeah. Andrew's sister, yeah. Eamon to be the head lad in Harrington's. That's her dad, yeah.
Did you meet at one of the hunt balls, or did you meet through racing, or was it kind of just one of these things that happens in Kildare where so many people are involved in racing, you just end up meeting each other?
We met down in Miss Harrington's when I finished school in '96. I started working down there, and Bear was doing a course of that, and we met down there. So we met back in '96, yeah, and we've been together ever since. Thank God.
You were an amateur jockey, is that right?
Yeah, I rode as an amateur for a good few years. You know, I think I finished up in 2006 or 2007, but yeah, I rode as an amateur for a good few years. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to do that.
And then it was kind of inevitable that training was going to be on your agenda at some point, was it? Given that you've got a strong family connection in it already.
Yeah, I can't say. Like, initially, the thing back then was, I suppose, I built up a good few contacts through the riding and that, and I ended up getting a lot of breakers and pre-trainers through different yards. In fairness, I suppose the first person that sent me a good bunch of horses and which gave me the kick up the backside to go on and do it was Bobby Ryan. He used to buy an awful lot of yearlings for Howard Johnson and that, and he used to get me a bunch of them one year, and we rented a yard and we started breaking and pre-training then, and we built up from then. And then when the breaking and pre-training, I suppose, got busy, that was then kind of being riding as an amateur. I was going racing every day for one ride, so it was kind of being more of a hindrance than anything. So you're driving, if we'd gone out of the yard for 4 or 5 hours for one ride, and then you'd be wondering what's going on at home because we were so busy with the breakers and pre-trainers. But from there, developed into training. Kind of, it was never my plan to go training, you know, never my plan to go training. It was just with the breaking and pre-training, but that got quiet, say. And then we decided we'd start to train because a couple of the owners were willing to leave horses with us.
I wonder, in retrospect, it doesn't sound like you planned, I'm going to spend time breaking and pre-training, and then I'm going to step up and train the horses for competition, for races. But in retrospect, it does sound like a really good thing to do, because you kind of see the growth and you see how quickly a horse can change over one season or 3 months of doing stuff, that the level of expertise that you develop in horse growth is something that you think a lot of trainers would really like to have as part of their own experience.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a big plus having done the breakers and pre-trainers, bringing on young horses. And it's the type of thing that we've been kind of lucky with. Like, we've always, touch wood, we're always lucky with we have a nice string of bumper horses every year, and I think that's down to the part of the years I've done breaking and pre-training and exactly bringing on the nursery of young horses. It's a huge plus to have been doing that, and it's great for you to have let's say given a nice 3-year-old and bringing it on and developing it and giving it its breaks when you need and training it for bumper horse, working with it the whole way along. I think it is a big help definitely for training.
And I'm always interested as well, the decision to be are you exclusively national hunt? Do you have many flat horses?
We do. We've probably 10 or 15 flat horses in at the moment. Yeah, look, we had a few very good seasons in the flat. Like, we had a big winner Champions Weekend a couple of years ago with a filly called Hamley. So no, look, at every year we have our few nice flat horses. Yeah. And
as a matter of interest, why would you not just go all flat if you have had success, or why would you not just go all national hunt? What is it that is appealing to you, apart from obviously the number of horses that you might have someone coming down to you? Like, why be a dual purpose trainer as opposed to focusing on one or the other?
I think it just keeps you going all season round. Like, the flat's very hard. It's very hard to compete with youngsters that's 2-year-olds. Like, unless you have the proper well-bred horses, like, you've only a handful of trainers that trains 2-year-old winners and starts up along. So the flat is probably very competitive in the early races, even the stakes races, and the flat's competitive. I know the jumping is every bit as competitive, but you can have I don't know. I feel I can have a bit of luck in both. So it's enjoyable to have both. But I really enjoy having a young 3-year-old and bringing it on. And
I suppose from a calendar perspective, as you said, it keeps you busy. Like, genuinely, you can be working all year if you have the 2 different types of horse in your yard.
Yeah, it is a big plus. Like, you're not just, well, I suppose with Dundalk now there's no shutdown in the flat, but look at it. A couple of years ago we were finished up in the flat after the November handicap, and that was it. It was gone. You're back until March, but it's all year round now. But like, look at it. It is a help, I suppose, that you've mixed your boat. You're busy all year round.
You must look at Belfast Banter to an extent.
No, Johnny, we're just having trouble with your mic there, Johnny. We might come back to you in a second. I did want to ask about the family. You guys all live pretty close together. Is everybody else a trainer as well?
Well, on the road here, you have Jarlath, my brother, who trains, and then you have Seamus, a brother who trains, and Mark, a nephew. There's 3 of us, 4 of us along the road there to train. We use the same gallops, and Jarlath trains. He's a Curra license, so he goes over to Curra a bit more in that end. And Seamus would be my eldest brother. He'd have plenty of success as well. But no, we all use the one gallops in the morning for the routine canters.
That's a good sharing of resources. Does it lead to an intense level of competition sometimes?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Look at here. Not really, to be honest with you. Everyone would love when it's amazing. Like, if the road comes in, we'd always say if someone had a winner down the road, all the horses would be healthy and everyone will have a winner or two. It's just the way it is. They're all kind of closely knit, But no, you'd be cheering everyone on, the whole crew on. Anyone that has runners along the road, you'd be cheering them on big time. Yeah.
Were your parents trainers?
No, my mother and father, they were big time involved in pony racing back when for years, even before I was born. But towards the latter end, they were chairman and secretary of the pony racing. So that's where I kind of started off riding. I think I rode my first pony race in the 6th.
Right.
And so I was always mixed up in ponies and horses. Yeah.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I think we've got Johnny back there. You were going to ask a question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think there's a good flat race in Belfast Banter, given the way he's travelling these races?
I do, Johnny, to be honest, but I'm a bit fearful to go at it straight away with him because I don't want to get him, like, let's say I don't want to start shortening him up and trip and getting him back keen. I think he's actually started to learn how to settle a little bit in his race, and I think that could be a big plus for him. So I don't know. I'd love to chance him in a flat maiden and see, but I just don't want to fire him up too much yet. He's not over big, but he's running a pint and he has jumped fences and he's electric jump fences, so we've that option as well with him. But yeah, at some stage he will tip away in the flat. Like, if he's lucky enough to win a maiden and got a nice enough mark, it could be an ideal one for some of them kind of stay in handicaps.
Just another thing as well I want to mention, obviously, you were saying that Jamie Codd was likely to ride the big dog or whatever at Fairyhouse, but just in relation to Kevin Sexton, I think there's probably maybe something of a gap for a big jockey to come through at the moment. Rachel Blackmore's kind of done it in some respects, but for the slightly younger generation, the ex kind of novice riders, that you've a lot of high profile retirements obviously in recent years, and it's not like the caliber rider is bad in Ireland at the moment, but there's maybe a gap for someone to come through, and you've put a lot of faith in Kevin, and I think he's been I think his resurgence has been one of the great stories of racing as well, because of the season he's had and just how well he's riding.
Yeah, look at it, Kevin. I couldn't say enough good about Kevin. Like, even I can't think of many years ago now since he kind of came back riding, but it was probably 2 seasons ago now. Just heading into the 3rd season. Yeah, it was Killarney 2 years ago. Like, he started back riding, and in fairness, he was going down to ride a horse called X Squared, who he won on it, and the owners, in fairness, very loyal to him the whole way along. So it's kind of X Squared, or not X Squared, sorry, Room to Rome. He'd won an X Squared for them in Galway, won a graded race that for them. So they had a new horse called Room to Rome, and we were going down to Killarney to ride him. And it was going to be Kevin's kind of first ride back. He wasn't too pushed in coming back right, but I was pushing him on myself. And it was only that morning I rang the owners, Vinny and Ollie Dunn, they own Peregrine Run. Like, Robert Power was there. We're sitting on the fence to see who was available to ride the horse. So I rang them that morning. I'd say it was after 10 o'clock, declarations were out. And I just said it to him, here, look, I'm giving Kevin a chance, and would you be willing to give him a spin on Peregrine Run? And he says, I'll come back to you and let you know. So 2 minutes later, Vinny rings me back and he just says, here, Peter, look, if you're giving him a chance, he's part of your team out there. He says, put him on Peregrine Run. I think that was a graded race down in Killarney. He won that on him. And I think he ended up winning 5 or 6 that summer on him. But look, I suppose that was make or break. I was willing to give him a chance. But then I suppose when an owner of our main yard star said, here, yeah, give him a go on him, that gave all the other owners then, I suppose, a kick to, right, we'll follow suit. And I suppose due to them, whatever I did, I suppose is a huge help. And Kevin's a huge help to us every day. But in fairness to the Byrne family for putting them up in Peregrine Run that day, and for Kevin winning them, I suppose it really kick-started them back into action.
And it obviously worked out having that relationship as well then with a horse like Belfast Banter, who has its own quirks, and then he's got the experience of it over a period of time.
It is a big help. Look, there's plenty of days we come home and we'll be scratching our head after him being beaten and made in hurdles and we thinking it was certainty. But look, he's got the hang of riding them now, I suppose, after 14 goals. Yeah.
Peter, are you in Ballinrobe today? You definitely have horses there.
I have horses there. No, I'm not there. I was to go down if the filly got into the first. I was going to head down to Ballinrobe, do this from Ballinrobe, but no, I'm not down there now. I'm at home.
And you've a couple of horses in the next couple of hours.
Yeah, with filly lunching there. She ran. Actually, I got a good buzz over her. She nicked a bit of black type the last run in Limerick. She's switching back to hurdles. In fairness, I think she's an all right mark over hurdles. But whether we'll see today how she handles it,
Johnny, you're back.
Yeah. Just I suppose just on Kevin Sexton again. It must have given you a great kick to be part of the resurgence of a rider who essentially could have quit.
It does. Look, it does. You get a huge kick out of him riding first here every day. But look at it, and it's relief. It's a relief for him and relief for everyone, when he comes out. But look at Kevin. Kevin's a good rider in my opinion. Very, very good rider.
Peter, go on.
You generally just the way that the Irish Dons at Cheltenham. Like, what's your take on it? Because I don't know. I don't know if they're treating this maybe with what the kind of interest or definitely the alarm that they should be in Britain, because this has become a massive trend now, and we need racing in Britain to be strong. We can't celebrate by dancing on the grave of the British, because the British racing needs to be strong for Irish racing to be strong. We can't survive really without it. So what's your take on the situation?
It's hard to call. Look, I tell you what it does. It shows how competitive it is over here. Like, not going back on, like, I know Tan Skelton got plenty of slating over what he said, an easy race in Ireland. There's actually not one easy race in Ireland. You no matter for even a 0-95 handicap, there's so competitive in Ireland, and I think that's what drove everyone on to the next level. Like, you can say, the Irish won the handicaps, which are, like, initially, I thought many years ago it was all the handicaps ratings were changed so it would be on par, and then they gave us more weight. Now they're talking about putting more weight on the Irish again in handicaps. I don't know if that's the case. I just think that the Irish racing is actually so competitive that when we go over to England, that's why we're miles ahead, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why Henry de Bron had improved as much as he did, I guess, as well, because it's like Kenny Hurler drove everyone else up, I suppose.
That's it, exactly. You have some people saying to you, oh, what you feel it hard with all the big yards having to good horses. They don't. It actually drives me on, It drives me on completely. And it's the same with, like even having a Cheltenham winner or, let's say, the Aintree Grade 1 winner. I had a Cheltenham winner. All my dream the whole along was to have a Cheltenham winner. And you're thinking, if we could just get one. And you know what? You've won, and it just actually, it makes you more determined and more driven on, And the same with, then after Cheltenham, if I could ever get a Grade 1, I didn't think I was going to get an Aintree, but like to get it then straight away, of course, it makes you more determined. And I think that's what, as you're saying, even Henry, like what Henry's done this year is actually unbelievable. Unbelievable. I know Rachel's rode all the horses, and she's a fantastic, brilliant rider, but as a trainer, Henry, you take your hat off to Henry, what he's doing, to be honest, this season.
Is that inspirational then? Like literally you can look at what he's done and see the track record and see that he's had really amazing horses before and had big setbacks and overcome them as well.
Oh, it is. It's definitely inspirational. It is like what every big trainer in Ireland, of course it does. It drives me on, like to get a better caliber of horse, to have better owners, to have everything. It does. It drives me on completely. Like it's what everyone has started off with small numbers. Like I suppose we've been lucky all along that we've had, for the last, I'd say, 8 or 10 years, we've had good, horses to run weekends and graded races and be very competitive. We've kind of had a flag bearer every year, and every trainer has started up that way. But definitely to see the scale that the top few in Ireland are doing, it would drive you on, definitely. Make you way more determined.
Well, Peter, you obviously have some good horses on the books at the moment, and we wish you all the best of luck and continued success. Long may it continue. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ger. Thank you. Thanks, Johnny.
Peter Fahey there, our guest on Friday Night Racing, which is brought to you, of course, by Horse Racing Ireland. It is an incredible story, Johnny, really, that, the heartbreak of having a favourite in a big race and it fetches up lame and you're thinking, well, this week's a bit of a write-off. The other horse might not even get in. The horse gets in, romps home, and suddenly everything changes.
It's mad because he was 33-1 and Royal Kahala, I completely relate to what he's saying there. It's almost like when you were a fan of your favourite team or whatever when you were younger and it got to a cup final and you were expecting to win, and I think in Liverpool, Man United, when Cantona got the goal, and you're just like, you're so deflated afterwards. And if you train a horse, and this is adult stuff, if you train a horse and you're just thinking the closer you get to the race, I've known for some time the Royal Kahala is very highly regarded, and it disappoints. It's kind of like, well, it is hard. You have to lift yourself. But then on the other side, you have a 33-1 shot. You didn't even expect to get into the race. 33-1 shot is probably something like a 1 or 2% chance of winning the race realistically on paper, wins the race, and then goes on to win a Grade 1. And you're not there for either of them, but you're at home in this strange lockdown situation and probably enjoying it all the more. And I think one thing about Peter Fahey, he obviously mentioned Hamley there. He was a good winner at Irish Champs weekend. He's just a very good trainer. And I think he has some nice horses on his hands now. But the Kevin Sexton sub-story is huge as well. Kevin Sexton, had a band that probably would have maybe forced other riders just to give up altogether. And I want to mention Gordon Elliott here as well, because Gordon Elliott was pivotal in bringing him back and giving him a second chance. And, this is somebody who was basically stamped upon all over the papers over the last few months. But Gordon Elliott was very important, has given jockeys and riders and staff a second chance in life. He gave Kevin Sexton a second chance. He came back. Peter Fahey backed him. And now we have a rider who could be on the scrap heap enjoying Grade 1 glory at Aintree. And I think that's a fantastic story as well.
All right, Johnny, I do want to tell everybody that we've been playing tic-tac with our toe to 10 to follow in the last few weeks. Your lead looked completely unassailable after Cheltenham, but then I knocked you off the top spot when Abracadabras won the Aintree hurdle, but that only lasted for 24 hours because Shishkin obliged on Saturday to give you a narrow lead once more. The Jumps 10 to follow ends next weekend. Will this be the final score? I'm not sure. 505 is your score. I'm on 491.18. So
this has been a good battle.
This has been a good battle, considering you are an expert who get paid for your tips, and I am like, a Johnny come lately to this. Just want to point that out. I'm not sure I've pointed that out at any point over the course of the season. I think it's probably
75 times.
It's passed unremarked so far. This week sees the launch of the Tote Plus offering, 10% bigger dividends for Tote account payouts. Check out tote.ie for all the details. I did want to mention one final story on Friday Night Racing this week here. It is the fact that Presenting Percy has passed away. This is Brian Flanagan's story that I'm reading in the Star today. Philip Reynolds hailed his horse of a lifetime after he revealed Presenting Percy has died from a blood infection, and genuinely heartbroken comments from Philip Reynolds in the paper today. Presenting Percy was one of those horses that absolutely galvanised and had a little bit of crossover appeal, an audience and a support base, Johnny, that's, not a lot of horses reach that level.
Absolutely. He was trained by a small trainer in County Galway. He was owned by Philip Reynolds, who wouldn't have an awful lot of horses. And he won twice at Cheltenham. And he was just an exceptionally good horse. And, I backed him at Christmas. And it just goes to show, you're sort of frustrated after the race because he never raised a gallop, really. But it turned out he wasn't right. And, he's basically... I read anyway that he died from complications from that leg injury, but he was just a lovely, lovely horse. It was hard, like if you had no association with a horse like that, notwithstanding the fact that he wasn't trained by one of the big guns for most of his life, it was just the way he travelled. He had a kind of a swagger in his races. The whole Pat Kelly side story was a bit mad as well because of his, he's an enigma, wouldn't really talk to the press, so he was a horse that attracted a lot of attention. Philip, obviously high profile in his own way, being a son of Albert Reynolds, but Philip is a really, really nice guy. I've always found him great to deal with, and Present Percy was a smashing horse. It's a horse, it's not a human, but I was very, very sad to hear this. I wasn't alone. I've no doubt there were tears shed, not only in the house of Philip Reynolds, but also in some of the yards, maybe the 2 yards that he's been trained in, and there would have been a lot of very sad race goers who never had anything to do with Presenting Percy, because he was a lovely horse, and it's sad for that to happen.
All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there. Good stuff. That's Johnny Ward giving us his thoughts this Friday afternoon on Friday Night Racing. We broadcast live every Friday afternoon on all of our social channels on Off the Ball. So that's youtube.com/Off the Ball. It's also on our Twitter account. We stream on Facebook. And of course, you can get us on the OTB Sports app as well. And then every Friday evening, we're on Off the Ball on News Talk as well. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.